What is going on, fishing bros and broettes? We got where'd Bog go? Bog, what are you doing back there? What are you doing, dude? Looking for all the bait? Where are the shiners at? Where are the shiners at? Where are they at? Where are they at? We are at 44 Tackle, probably one of the best bait shops in North Central Florida. Got a ton of stuff. Check it out. But you guys have seen a bunch of chatterbait videos because we've been smashing them on a chatterbait. So what we're going to do in today's video is we're going to go through, we got the chatterbait display, all the Z-Mans and the Thunder Crickets and every kind of big blade, every kind of chatterbait you can imagine. And I'm going to tell you what kinds of chatterbaits apply best to the water you're fishing or maybe to the price point that you're looking for. Because there is not one perfect chatterbait. There's all different versions of them and each one has its sort of special place when it comes to the bass barometer. Which chatterbaits you sell the most of? Jackhammers?
Yeah, jackhammers, but in particular around here, Golden Shiner and Beehive Delight.
Beehive Delight. All right. Ty, what's your Instagram, buddy?
FTW.fishing.
FTW.fishing. No underscore.
No underscore.
Check out my buddy Ty. So if there's one chatterbait that you're going to get for 90% of your applications, or if you just want one at a decent price point, there's actually two. Sorry. My fault. But it's going to be this guy, either the original chatterbait or the Chatterbait Elite. Basically, it's your standard chatterbait. It has the blade connected directly to the head right there. They come in 3/8, 1/4, ½ ounce, 3/4. The Elite actually comes in, this has 3/8 and a half, but it comes in a 5/8 as well. But silver blades, gold blades, a ton of colors as you can see, but it's a super versatile chatterbait. Has a decent skirt on it, decent hook. I think it's like a 4/0 hook. It's not a gigantic one, but for an all-purpose chatterbait, you can't go wrong. It has a slightly standardized vibration. You know, they're probably used to it, and most guys are going to buy that, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. But if you're looking for one that catches fish, I guarantee you that, the Chatterbait Elite or the original chatterbait, you can't beat the price point. It's like $4 to $7, $4 to $6, tons of colors. Nothing wrong with it. We're gonna go from one extreme to the other, and if there's one chatterbait that is worth every dollar, even though it shocks me every time I see the price tag, it's this guy, dude. And the price tag, $17.99 here. Depending where you get them, it varies, but it's around that ballpark. But it's the Jackhammer. This is the standard of high-end chatterbait fishing, and I guarantee you, if you're used to fishing, say, you know, the original chatterbait or like a Chatterbait Elite, you'll be able to tell the difference with this thing. Number one, and probably the biggest feature that I find, is the blade seems to react more quickly. So if you're casting it out, you go to reel, you know, on that original chatterbait, it'll kind of kick in, or you might have to give it a little, you know, a little jerk, and she'll kind of kick in and that blade will start going. On the Jackhammer, literally, dude, when you start reeling that thing, it starts going that back-to-back motion, or back and forth motion. The other thing that you're going to find is the hooks are better on the Jackhammer. It's just a better quality overall product. The other thing, especially, I think it's just on the originals, the Chatterbait originals, they have a collared skirt, and it's not your standard collared skirt. It's almost like a punch skirt kind of deal. It's kind of a crappy skirt, just to be perfectly honest. It doesn't flare out as well, and especially with a bait that you're ripping and kind of giving slackline to, or just letting it fall, I want that skirt to really fluff out and flare when you're doing that pause. And the Jackhammers have a hand tied, or at least a custom skirt. There's more strands in it, and it's also tied right around, you can see it's like hand tied right around the shaft, the hook of the shaft, or right below the head, and that causes the skirt to fluff out a lot more when you're fishing it. And frankly, I think it gives it better action. I still trim them down a bit, but the biggest difference you're going to find is hook, skirt, and that blade reacts totally different than the original chatterbait. It's worth every dollar. I know, like, it probably hurts your feelings to buy it, and it hurts my feelings every time I buy them, but they are 100% worth it. We're only going to give this one a second. I'm not actually, this is #realfishing. I'm not a huge fan of this guy. So this is the cross-eye chatterbait. It's a snag-resistant chatterbait. Basically, it has two little wire guards in front of the hook right there. You can see it has pretty much the standard size blade, a nice hand-tied skirt once again, so it's decent quality. But the reason that I'm not a big fan is I don't really think you need any kind of brush guard on a chatterbait. There's a few tricks that you can actually do in order to make the chatterbait more weedless, but in general the chatterbait is pretty weedless. It's not great around wood. It might be a situation where you might bust it out, but 90% of the time I'm really going to fish a spinnerbait around wood. But what you can do instead of actually using these wire guards is you can use kind of like a straight tail trailer, and you can actually hook it like a Texas rig. So you almost do it like a shaky head, where you slide your trailer up on there and then thread it right on the hook, so you don't even need those brush guards. Not a big fan of these. I'd rather just use my jackhammers. The other thing too is, for as many types of chatterbaits as there are out there, I want to try to simplify. Even though I have a bunch of different variations, I don't want to have one that's just like a weedless one when I don't think I really need it. This is what I'm going to call the fun side. I like these because they are totally different. You have kind of a quality level difference between the original chatterbait and you know, the jackhammer. It's pretty obvious, you know, from a component standpoint. So you have kind of high end and a low end, or an entry level. These guys actually provide a completely different action and different profile compared to what your standard chatterbait would be imagined as, and that's the big blade. This is new. This is Brian Thrift's design. I actually got to hang out with Brian Thrift and talk to him a little bit about this while he was with JT over in Palm Bay. What's really cool with this is the blade, and that's what really sets it apart, as well as the big hook. It comes with a bigger, stouter hook. But what happens is the chatterbait is really known for its vibration, and what gives it that vibration is that blade. And this giant blade thumps, boy. I mean thumps, like drop the bass kind of thump, drop the bass, you know. But it really thumps, and what's also really cool about it is a chatterbait is such a great tool for fishing around grass, but oftentimes you're fishing around really shallow water, right? So the grass comes up near the surface, and it's really tough, even if you go down to, say, a 1/4 ounce or a 3/8 ounce chatterbait, to keep that bait above the grass. What this big blade actually does is, because it displaces so much water and creates so much resistance as you're reeling it, it causes the bait to ride higher in the water column. Thus, it's a lot easier to keep that bait above, say, grass, above cover, and to keep it a little higher in the water column without like having to reel it so fast. So you can almost kind of slow roll it over some of that shallow grass that you would normally have to reel a chatterbait super fast at, you know, over. The other thing is too, I'm strongly convinced, you know, with all the crankbait fishing that I do, fish really respond to different vibrations. Bigger fish especially, playing around with those vibrations. Traps are a great example. You know, you have your one knockers, you have your little BB ones, you have your silent ones, you have your ones with big BBs. Those different vibrations draw in different bites, and especially on pressured bodies of water, you can really play around with that to sort of trigger fish that don't normally bite your standard chatterbait or your standard lure, by using those different vibrations to sort of draw them in. And that's what this thing does. It's very obnoxious. It's very loud. It displaces a lot of water, but really these fish are aggressive predators, and they're looking for something like that. And the biggest thing is it's super different. The vibration that this thing gives off and the action that it has, the wobble, the chatter, is totally different than the original or the jackhammer. So the last one I think is super cool, and it's all in a name, dude. Chatterbait Mini Max. So it's this guy, and immediately you can see the blade on it is much smaller, the hook on it is much smaller, but what isn't much smaller is actually the weights. So it still comes in a 1/4, 3/8, and a 1/2 ounce. And what's really cool with this thing is, even though it's downsized, I can still put like a little easy on there. It's definitely a more compact hook. I think it's like a 3/0 or a 2/0. So you do have to downsize your trailers a bit, but with that smaller blade, it's a lot easier to burn it. So I can move it pretty quick. It's a smaller profile. I've been really into finesse fishing, but I've been looking at ways to take some of the techniques that I do and simply downsize them. It's really hard to do that with a chatterbait, but now they have the mini, so I can actually do that. I can put a smaller kind of body, a trailer on there. I can use a smaller chatterbait, but still get that action, that back and forth kind of blade. I can rip it off the grass, but it's downsized. And what's kind of cool is it's almost downsized to the point where it's more comparable to like a trap or something along those lines. So I can fish it in some of those situations where I'm looking for that smaller profile. The other thing that's really cool is I can still use like standard, I guess, bait casting gear. So I'm not really having to like downsize to a spinning rod or something along those lines. The hook, although it's smaller, it's still a super stout, I'd call it like a medium wire hook. And the weights, like I said, are still 1/4, 3/8, and a half. So I can still put that thing on a 7.2, a 7-foot medium heavy with 15-pound fluorocarbon, 17-pound fluorocarbon, or even braid if that's what I'm looking to do. So it gives me an ability to make a finesse presentation, but still kind of a reaction or a triggering a reaction style bait, and get that chatterbait profile and that chatterbait vibration, just not as big and obtrusive, maybe in a clear water situation, maybe in a cold water situation, maybe in a highly pressured situation. It's a great alternative. I like little baits, dude, and this thing is a mean little bait. We've been catching so many fish on a chatterbait that I thought it would be cool to kind of help you guys select a chatterbait the next time you go into a giant awesome tackle store like this one. Giant awesome tackle store. So get out there and grab the chatterbait that applies to you. Definitely need a jackhammer, but if you want to be price conscious, you can always go with the original, but try out that little guy and the big blade. They have different vibrations, different profiles, and they definitely trigger some big fish. Tight lines, hit that like and subscribe button. Everybody say bye to Ty. Bye, Ty.
See ya.
We'll see you next time.